Welcome to RaWMachines, a journey to discover the most impressive processes around the world. In today's episode, we will step into 3 different worlds: the modern scale of Sierra Pacific, US, the craftsmanship spirit of Britain lumber, New England, and the peak of automation at Dorotea Såg, northern Sweden. How will the journey of wood transform in these 3 very special sawmills? Join me to discover it now. Amidst the fresh air of the Oregon forests, where Douglas fir trees have stood firm for centuries, the loggers begin a new workday. Here, every tree trunk is a chapter in the Earth's chronicle. Each annual ring tells of harsh winters, dry summers, and the peaceful years the forest has endured. As the harvester machine moves in, the quiet of the forest is broken. The hydraulic cutting head reaches out, grips the trunk, and the circular saw blade spins rapidly. In just a few seconds, a 40-meter-tall pine is brought down, its branches falling heavily, and the trunk is precisely cut into segments. All of this occurs with near absolute precision, a mechanical dance within nature. Inside the sealed cabin, the operator sits surrounded by technology despite being in the forest. Air conditioning, electronic joysticks, computer screens displaying the length and diameter of each log segment. They control the levers by hand, but their eyes follow the trunk as it falls. No log is worthless. That is their philosophy: to utilize every inch, every wood fiber, so that no part of nature is wasted. This is also a silent respect for nature. As the first logs are stacked onto the trucks, their journey out of the forest begins. Workers use the hydraulic crane mounted behind the cabin to load the wood. With each grasp, the crane arm lifts several 100-kilogram logs, placing them precisely onto the trailer. Another employee walks around the vehicle, checking the balance, then uses chains and steel ratchet binders to secure the entire load. Forest roads are unpaved. The truck must travel slowly, maintaining an average speed of 15 to 20 km/h to prevent overturning. On many segments with gradients steeper than 12%, drivers must use the air brake system and global differential lock to stabilize steering. This job demands high skill and absolute concentration, because a single slip or slight collision could damage the entire consignment, or worse, cause a serious accident. As the truck approaches the industrial zone, the forest gradually recedes. The scenery changes. Replacing the canopy and damp earth are steel fences, factories, and rows of smokestacks. In the distance, the sound of the sawmills echoes continuously. That is where the logs will be reborn. Our destination is Sierra Pacific Industries, or ESPI for short. Founded in 1949, it is one of the largest privately held forestry companies in the United States, and also a model for sustainable forest management. From a distance, the Sierra Pacific log yard looks like a miniature city, with tens of thousands of logs stacked on top of one another. As soon as each log is unloaded, it must be identified. As soon as each log is unloaded, it must be identified, sorted, and its data recorded. This information will follow it throughout the entire production process, ensuring complete traceability, from the forest to the final product. When the wood leaves the storage yard, the first step in the processing procedure is debarking, a seemingly simple stage that significantly determines later cutting productivity and quality. The debarker here is a ring debarker. The sensor system precisely determines the diameter. Then hydraulic knives automatically press against the surface, stripping the bark in just a few seconds. When the machine is operating, you can see the bark being separated into coiled strips, falling onto the conveyor. The industrial vacuum system immediately collects this material and sends it to the grinding area. There, the bark is processed in two ways: ground down to produce landscape mulch, decorative ground cover, or burned in a biomass boiler to supply energy for the mill itself. After debarking, the wood is placed onto the conveyor and moved to the head rig, main saw. This is a massive bandsaw, with a blade over 15 meters long, moving at a speed exceeding 40 meters per second. The sound when it cuts through the wood is not as loud as one might imagine, but deep, resonant, and steady, like a mechanical breath, precisely shaving off each wood fiber. The entire cutting process is controlled from a sealed operating booth, where the controller monitors via a series of screens. They can instantly adjust the cutting direction or speed if they detect a deviation. This job demands absolute focus, because just a minor error could result in tens of cubic meters of wood being wasted. Alongside the head rig, the mill also uses a curve saw system to process non-straight trunks. The machine uses sensors and directional oscillation to follow the natural curve of the log, allowing for the cutting of boards that maintain continuous grain, preventing cracking. As a result, the amount of discarded wood is significantly reduced compared to traditional sawing. After passing through the main saws, the log is divided into several sections. The core, cant, a thick square block of wood, used for refinement cutting in a later stage. The edges, flitches, rough boards still bearing bark edges, which will be sent through the edger. Chips and small fragments, transferred to the grinding system for recycling. All parts continue to slide along the conveyor, advancing into the edging and trimming lines, where the final form of the lumber gradually becomes clear. After the initial cut, the boards still have curved edges and rough surfaces. At this point, the edger machine receives and removes the excess material, creating sharp, parallel cuts. The excess wood is not discarded, but is ground into wood chips, which are used in the paper or biomass energy industries. Next, the straight edge boards move into the trimmer. If edging is the step of shaping the form, trimming is the step of defining the destiny. This system consists of dozens of saw blades positioned 2 feet apart. As the board moves through, only the necessary blades are activated, trimming precisely to the standard size. The finished lumber is then moved to the final grading line, where humans make the final decisions about the value of each product. Their job is to visually and manually inspect each board, comparing it against the standards set by the ALSC, American Lumber Standard Committee. This set of standards has been applied since the 1920s, regulating every factor that affects the load-bearing capacity and commercial value of the wood. The final step, but also the most delicate, is kiln drying. The boards are stacked in the kiln, where a system of sensors and software controls the temperature, humidity, and drying time specifically for each wood type. Some batches last over 10 days, with thousands of differential measurements recorded continuously. The wood doesn't just lose water, it is trained to become more stable and durable, resisting warping, cracking, and deformation when encountering different climates. After drying, the wood's color shifts to a light yellow. The grain becomes clearer, and the sound when tapped is more resonant. This is the sign of completion, ending a cycle from the forest to the mill for the wood. As the wood bundles leave the mill, they are more than just industrial goods. They are a statement from Sierra Pacific Industries, the harmonious blend of the American timber heritage and the power of modern technology, creating products that are both refined and sustainable, embodying the full value of the new era. The journey inside the mill has concluded, but the story of wood doesn't stop here. For those who wish to understand deeper, let's return together to the vast forest, where the logs begin their life. There, we will witness the professional skill of the loggers alongside the powerful capacity of the machinery, all working with precision and respect for nature. Come on, let's start. If Sierra Pacific is the symbol of power and technology, then in the endlessly stretching New England forests, the story carries a different melody. Here, strength lies in patience, and technology merges with the human heartbeat. Britain Lumber is one of the few mills that has maintained a stable production scale, large enough to supply the market, yet small enough to retain a sense of craftsmanship. There are no automated conveyor systems here, like at Sierra Pacific. Thus, when the wood arrives at the mill, hydraulic log cranes and log loaders take on the task of unloading the wood and moving it into the workshop. Inside the mill, the sawing line consists of a main band saw, 2 gang saws, multiple blade saws, and a resaw, auxiliary saw. All are controlled from the central booth using a simple electromechanical mechanism, not a fully automated system. A large log is fed onto the central head rig saw carriage. The operator adjusts the cutting direction to extract the most desirable core section. Every operation must be perfectly coordinated and absolutely precise, because a single missed beat could cause the board to warp or split at any moment. When the round logs are turned into cants, square logs, they are transferred to the resaw machine. This machine consists of 5 horizontal bandsaw blades, cutting the square logs into boards with a thickness of about 1 inch and a width ranging from 4 to 12 inches. This is the critical stage for determining productivity and the wood recovery rate, demanding high precision and synchronized operation between humans and machinery. After being sawn, the boards are moved through the grading stage to determine the next processing direction. If the edges are already square, the boards go straight to the trim saw. If the edges are still rounded, they are routed through the edger. The edger is equipped with optimization scanning technology, which helps determine the precise cutting location to square up the rounded edges, both enhancing aesthetic appeal and improving wood recovery efficiency. Next, the trimmer operator grades the wood according to its quality level and cuts it to standard lengths. Finally, when the cutting process is complete, the boards are sorted one more time by width and stacked with spacer strips between the layers, known as sticker piles. These spacers allow for even air circulation during the drying process. The stacks of wood, 4 layers high, 3 layers deep, are then moved into the kiln to reduce moisture content, ensuring stability for the finished wood product. A highlight of Britain's production process is the ability to fully utilize wood waste. Slabs, edgings, or trimmings are all fed into the chipper to be shredded into wood chips, which are supplied to paper mills. Even sawdust and bark yield significant benefits by being used as ground cover and animal bedding in agriculture. Thanks to this, BLCO not only minimizes waste, but also creates economic value from byproducts, items that were seemingly worthless. Returning to the dried lumber, it is now moved through the planer, where steel touches wood one last time, planing the surface flat, smoothing the edges, and creating subtle patterns for walls, ceilings, or exterior siding. At the end of the line, workers inspect each board, sort it by grade, then stack, package, and label it. Everything is prepared to be shipped out, becoming the foundations, frameworks, or roofs for thousands of structures across the Northeast. From the main mill in Fairleigh, dozens of trucks depart daily, carrying products and the pride of those in the trade. Technology advances rapidly. Artificial intelligence is entering every field. But at Britain Lumber, modernity does not erase the past. Rather, it enriches tradition. In every board shipped out, the fingerprint of the craftsmen who have dedicated their lives to the trade remains. This is evidence that, in the age of machinery, humanity is still the center and the soul of the lumber industry. Now join me for the final destination on our journey, the northern Swedish sawmill, Dorotea Sag. Winter temperatures here can drop below 25 degrees C. Snow covers the forest for months, and trees grow so slowly that it takes 80 to 120 years to reach harvest size. It is this very harshness that creates Nordic wood, high density, fine grain, superior durability. A nearly perfect structure for high-end construction and furniture. When the wood arrives at the mill, it does not go straight into the saw. The entire log will pass through an electronic scale to measure its mass, length, and diameter. This is not only for quantity and volume control, but also a commitment to transparency and fairness for forest growers and suppliers. Each log, big or small, is recorded and identified. They are no longer inanimate tree trunks, but citizens preparing to embark on a new journey. After scaling, the logs slide along the conveyor to the primary sorting area. Similar logs are separated and slide into individual storage compartments, awaiting the forklift to move them to the main production line. Similar to other mills, the wood will go through the debarking stage to clean off dirt and any metal inside, substances that could affect the safety of the entire production line. The separated bark is sent straight to the biomass boiler, where it is burned and converted into thermal energy to power the mill itself. Nothing is thrown away. It is merely a different form of energy being reused within the same cycle. The next step is the hew saw, the heart of the entire Dorotea Sag system. Unlike the multi-stage sawing typical in the US, the hew saw requires only a single pass to transform a round log into finished boards. As the log enters, a laser sensor system scans its entire shape, creating a detailed 3D model, and the software immediately calculates the most high-efficiency cutting plan. In a matter of seconds, the log enters one end and emerges at the other as bright, flat, and uniform boards, as if they had been molded. Every cut is monitored and adjusted by the computer in real time, There are no superfluous operations, no wrong cuts, only the mechanical precision controlled by data. Amidst the conveyor belts and automatic systems, there is still one area that cannot be replaced by machines: the manual grading area. Here, the craftsmen stand along the running stream of lumber, their eyes scanning as fast as lightning. With just a glance, they can distinguish wood species, grade, color, and potential use. When they raise their hand and press a button, a blast of compressed air pushes the board to the corresponding storage bin. A small touch, but the result of years of experience and deep professional pride. Now the wood has shape, but it is not yet mature. Inside, its moisture content is still high. If left untreated, the wood will warp, crack, or even rot during long-term use. Therefore, the wood needs to go through the drying stage. The boards are stacked into piles, with thin wooden strips called stickers placed between each layer. These small gaps play a major role. They allow air to circulate evenly, ensuring the drying process is uniform and preventing pockets of moisture, dryness, or mold growth. The board stacks are moved by specialized vehicles into huge sealed kiln chambers, tight like steel vaults. Here, the temperature and humidity are precisely controlled by a system of sensors and computers. It is not too hot for the wood to crack, nor too cold for moisture to linger. For days, even weeks, hot air is continuously circulated by fans through every gap between the board layers. The water in the wood slowly evaporates and is vented out. When the process is complete, the moisture content in the boards reaches the standard 6 to 8%, stable enough to prevent long-term warping or shrinkage. The craftsmen call this the tempering stage. Just as steel needs fire to become strong, wood needs the kiln to become resilient. From the taiga forests of Russia to the sawmills in the US and the white snows of Northern Europe, the journey of wood is a long one, traversing space, time, and different philosophies. At Sierra Pacific, we saw the power of scale and industrial discipline, where the forest is not just harvested, but managed as a living asset. At Britain Lumber, we touch the soul of traditional carpentry, where precision lies not in the machine, but in the craftsman's feel and pride. And at Dorotea Sag, we witness the future of the Nordic timber industry, where machinery, biomass energy, and artificial intelligence merge into one system. These three worlds, seemingly different, meet at a common point: the spirit of respect for nature and labor. Whether using a bandsaw, a laser scanner, or the naked eye, humans are still doing the same thing, transforming wood into material, but without forgetting to preserve the soul of the forest. As this journey concludes, we realize that technology, no matter how modern, is only a tool. The true element that elevates a profession has always been the people and their attitude toward the natural world. Because, in the end, what we are preserving is not just perfect boards, but the enduring relationship between humanity and the forest. A relationship that has existed for thousands of years and, if cherished, will continue for thousands more. Thank you for listening to the end of the story. If you also enjoy similar videos, please hit the like button, share, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any fascinating stories to come. RaWMachines says goodbye and see you next time.